new students, welcome to Legacy AI Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the map of North America, which is a very important continent. So we are going to discuss in details all the important facts that can be relevant for the prelims examination of the UPSC that is coming in the next month. And also we are going to discuss about the major geographical regions that you can find in this particular continent. So if we try to understand first of all the basis or basic of the North American continent, we can understand that out of the 7 continents across the world, it is the third largest continent in terms of area. Overall extent of this continent from north to south is from the Aleutian Island chain, which is chain of island that linking basically the Alaskan region of USA and the Siberian region of Russia. And then all the way up to the south, it terminates at what we call as the Isthmus of Panama. Isthmus of Panama basically refers to a narrow strip of land that is basically connecting your North American land masses and South American land masses. And it is through this Isthmus of Panama Canal has been dug, which actually links the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. And it is a very important waterways, we can say very important maritime trade route of the world today. Overall, if we try to look at the major countries that is part of this continent, so first of all, obviously we have the Canada that is in north, then we have the USA, then we have Mexico. Then these are the 3 countries that are part of North American continent. Apart from that, we also have one very large landmass that is called as Greenland, which is part of North American continent. However, Greenland in itself is not a separate country, rather it is a kind of protectorate of Denmark, which is a Northwest European country, or we can say part of Scandinavian country. Overall, if you also include the eastern part of North American continent, the Caribbean island also becomes a part, which is situated just slightly to the east of Gulf of Mexico and made up of several different island chains. Then if we talk about the overall width of this particular continent, so it is very wider in the northern part because it is almost covering the half of the world near the polar areas, stretching across half of the world near the polar areas. But at its narrowest point, it is just 15 kilometers across at the Panama Canal. Now, if we try to understand the major geographical regions or physical divisions of the North America, we can divide it into 5 distinct geographical areas. The first is what we call as the western part, which basically is bound by the mountain, and that is why it is called as mountainous west. Then slightly as we move toward the east, we have the Great Plains of the North America. Then in the northeastern side, you have the Canadian Shield. Then you have varied different types of physical features you will find in the eastern part of the North America, especially across the United States of America. And then we have the group of island chain that are collectively called as the Caribbean. If you try to understand them on the map, this is how it actually look like. Stretching all the way from the north to south in the western coast of the North America, we have different types of mountain ranges from Alaska in the north to Mexico. Alaska in the north to Mexico in the south. Apart from that, as we move to the east, we have the Great Plains, then we have the Canadian Shield, and then we have the eastern variable region, which is made up of mountainous region, plains region, wetlands region, and then we have the Gulf area, and then we have the Caribbean island. So this is entire region of the North America. Now let's try to understand each of these physical divisions one by one. So first of all, if we try to look at the mountainous region, which occupies the western coast of the North America, mainly we have 3 different mountain ranges. First, the longest mountain range is what we call as the Rocky Mountains. Before Rocky Mountains, we have a small mountain range in Alaska also that is called as Alaska Range. So we have Alaska Range in the north, then we have the Rocky Mountains, then we have the Sierra Madre Mountains that extend all the way up to Mexico. And then also we have the Cascade Mountain that we can see from here. It is between the Rocky Mountains and between the Sierra Nevada ranges. So these are the major mountainous region of this particular landmass. If we try to look at the nature of this mountain, basically all these are example of volcanic mountain that has formed due to the ocean content convergence. Basically in this region, what is happening, the Pacific Ocean plate is continuously subducting below the North American continental plate. And as the Pacific plate subduct below this North American continental plate, we have the melting of the Pacific plate that causes eruption of magma. And when this magma erupts with such a huge pressure, it breaks through the continental crust rock of North America. And over a long period of time, it has led to formation of a volcanic mountain chain, which is also termed as cordilleras. Cordilleras basically refers to numerous mountain chains that might be arranged parallelly to each other, stretching to a very, very longer distance. Now, because of these mountain ranges. What basically happens is when the warm and wet wind, warm and moist wind, when they try to come from the Pacific Ocean, they basically rises along all these mountain ranges, for example, along the Rocky Mountain ranges, and maximum rainfall is recorded on the western slope of this mountain ranges. However, as the wind crosses on the other side, it descends in the downward direction where it becomes warmer. Thus, condensation is not possible, cloud formation is not possible, and the eastern slope of these mountain ranges becomes almost very arid in nature because of low rainfall. And this is the reason why we will also find many numerous deserts on the eastern slope of these mountain ranges. For example, Sonoran Desert, Mojave Desert, and the Chihuahuan Desert are some of the major notable deserts that has formed due to the orographic effect of these mountain ranges, or what we can also call as the rain shadow effect of the mountain ranges. The second important region as we move away from the mountains toward the eastern side is when we encounter the Great Plains of North America. The Great Plains of North America, as you can see from this particular map, stretches all the way from the north to south, including the part of Canada and then including the part of the USA, but largest region of these plains are in the USA. We try to understand overall the extent of these Great Plains. They stretches for approximately 2,000 miles long and 500 miles wide. It encompasses part of USA as well as portions of Canada, as we have discussed. The state-wise, it includes major states of US such as North Dakota, South Dakota, as you can see from this picture, Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming, while in the Canada region, it actually includes the part of Saskatoon, Alberta, Manitoba, and also known as the Canadian Prairies region. Now, this Great Plain region is made up of very fertile soils, and since huge amount of crop is cultivated here, basically it is a kind of extensive commercial farming that is done here, and this is the reason why this entire Great Plain region is also termed as the bread basket of North America. Now we try to understand that why do this region have fertile soil? Where did all these fertile soils have come from? So actually it has formed due to the material deposited during the most recent glacial period, almost 18,000 years ago from now. That was when we have the last glacial period. So when the earth entered into the warming phase, glaciers began to retreat. And when the glaciers began to retreat, it started to melt also, and the deposits that are carried by this meltwater, this glacial meltwaters, has actually been deposited around this entire plain region, and that is the reason why this area has such a fertile soil. So it is a kind of fluvial deposit, glacial deposits. Apart from that, the grassland areas are also called as prairies in the North America, also make up a huge part of Great Plains, and it is also considered as one of the largest biome of the world, including North America. Not only that, this region is fertile and support huge diversity of crop, but this region is also we can say this region also has huge deposits, rich deposits of oil and natural gases. That makes it also important from the mineral and economic point of view. The third region, or the third physiographical division, is what we can call as the Canadian Shield, that is situated in the northeastern part of the North American landmass. And this entire area that you are seeing on this map here, that is basically surrounded by the red dot lines, that is the area that is referred to the Canadian Shield. If we try to understand, this Canadian Shield is a type of plateau. It is very similar to the Peninsular Plateau, but this plateau has formed in very recent time. For example, the Peninsular Plateau of India, you will find many regions that has formed almost 4 billion years ago. But in Canada, these Canadian Shields have developed mainly somewhere between 65 to less than 65 million years. And largely it is made up of the igneous rock. If you look at the characteristic of the Canadian Shield, it is basically a raised but relatively flat type of plateau, characterized obviously by the rocky landscape. Mostly it is dominated by the igneous rock, and there are astounding number of lakes that you will find in the Canadian Shield, because this area is very close to the higher latitudes, and thus we also have large number of glaciers that has kept on flowing through this area, carving, basically we can say, a lake-like depression and then depositing the water when the melting of this ice happens. If we talk about the kind of biome that you will find in Canadian Shield, it basically is situated in the tundra biome that stretches all along the northern borders of Alaska and Canada, all the way up to the Hudson Bay area on the Atlantic seaboard. Tundra biome basically refers to such kind of biome where the rainfall or precipitation on in annual we can say an average annual precipitation rainfall is very low, and this is kind of cold desert kind of landscape. We do not have a lot of big trees or plants that can grow here. Basically, this is also a region of permafrost. Now, permafrost basically refers to that area where the soil on the ground remains frozen for 2 or more years, and it is mainly because of the temperature that is appreciably below 0 degrees Celsius. Now, this permafrost keeps moisture very closer to the soil surface, and due to this, there is some sort of vegetation growth you will see in this extreme tundra type of climate as well. And some kind of sedges, grasses, flowers bloom during summertime in these areas. And especially in the summer, as the upper part of the soil thaws, basically it melts, the upper few inches or few centimeters of the soil, they actually lead to development of numerous shallow lakes, ponds, as well as the box. Box basically refer to such kind of a small lake which is full of different types of vegetation and plant cover. So lichens, mosses, algae, and succulent type of plants take advantage of these shallow waters and grow here. And due to this, you will find the animals that feed upon these small grasses, feed upon these algae, feed upon these flowers that reside in this area. And the two most important animals that you'll find in the Canadian seal region is obviously we have the musk ox, and then we have the caribou deer, widely recognized by their very wide and very, what we can say, number of antlers. The next region is what we can call as the varied eastern region. Now, why we're using the term varied is because it is a mixture of different types of geographical region. For example, this green area is the one that shows you which is the eastern part of the North American land masses. So largely it is made up of Appalachian Mountain, which is a very old mountain that has been categorized as the oldest mountain range of the entire North America, and it includes the Appalachian. It rises near the east coast of United States and Canada. Now, Appalachian itself has a huge preserve of different types of mineral, including iron ore as well as coal, and thus you'll also see development of huge number of iron and iron ore based industry, iron steel based industry, automobile industry in the nearby region of the Appalachian Mountain. For example, this Pittsburgh town that you are seeing here on this map is the major steel producing center of the United States of America. But it is not only the area has Appalachian Mountain, the area, since it has closer vicinity to the Atlantic coast, and this area also has a plain-like feature because of the lot of rivers that are forming the delta and the estuaries in these areas. We also see development of areas such as riverine regions, marshy regions, and wetland regions east of the Appalachian Mountain toward the sandy beaches of the Atlantic coast. And one of the most notable wetland that you will see here is situated near the Florida, that is called as Florida Everglades. It is considered as the largest wetland ecosystem of the United States that covered more than 11,137 square kilometers of the area in the southern Florida. And the aerial photograph of the Florida Everglades you can see here from this particular picture. So basically this also supports huge amount of biodiversity, different types of fauna and floras that are found in this particular regions. The last region of North America is what we refer to the island chain, that is the Caribbean. So basically, slightly to the south of Florida, we have a chain of islands including Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and a lot of such small island countries are there that are collectively part of the Caribbean Sea and are called as the Caribbean region. Now these region have more than 7,000 islands, islets, reefs, and cays. So basically the cays are basically a kind of small island that is situated or located on the sideward part of the coast, coral reef. Regions, islands, smaller islets are varying in their topography. Some have relatively flat and sandy terrain, while others are rugged, mountainous, and volcanic in nature. Now this is because of two factors. Because the development of island in Caribbean island has happened due to two different types of geophysical phenomena. One, because in this area also we are having the plate movement, there has been a lot of volcanic eruption, and that has led to formation of the volcanic islands. But at the same time, this area also is dominated by vast number of corals, and corals have formed here the coral reefs, and thus we have a lot of islands that actually are type of coral reefs. So the coral reefs and the cays of the Caribbean Sea are among the most spectacular biomes that you'll find in North America. Basically, coral reef, if you want to define it, it is nothing but a kind of ridge kind of area, ridge kind of feature made up of jagged rocks, corals, or sand just above or below the surface of the Sea. Some coral reefs surround islands such as Bahamas, Antigua, and Barbados, and it is very well known tourist destination as well. While the USA, as far as the mainland of USA is concerned, the largest coral reef you'll find is around the Florida Keys, which is basically a chain of cays. As we have discussed, it is a small island situated on a coral reef platform near the southern coast of US state of Florida. So this is all about the major 5 regions, geographical regions of the USA. Sorry, of the North America. Now, if you look at some of the most unique landforms that you will find in North America, so we have what we call as the Grand Canyon. Now, this is the largest canyon not only in North America but in the entire world, that has developed in the Colorado Plateau due to the flow of the Colorado River, and due to the flow of Colorado River, we can see such a picturesque and beautiful kind of canyon, that is a kind of broad and narrow valley has been formed. This attracts a lot of tourists from all across the world every year and is known as one of the most important or most famous tourist places of the USA. The second major landform that you'll find in the USA is situated in the California, that is called as Yellowstone National Park. And Yellowstone National Park not only is the largest national park of USA, but also is well known for it the largest geyser system that you'll find in the North America. The most famous of them is the Old Stone Geyser, as well as we have the Excelsior Geyser. So geysers are also basically nothing but a kind of volcanic landform. So basically what happens, due to the heat of magma that is trapped below the surface of the earth, we have the water that basically comes out in the form of fountain, and this water gets collected and looks very, very colorful around these areas because it has a lot of dissolved minerals, and you have a steam that is coming out from the water. Water looks very, very picturesque blue and light blue in color because of presence of huge number of different types of microorganisms as well as the microalgae. So the what we can say is the geyser kind of landform is also very, very unique to the North America. Then the next important landform is what we can call as the Bay of Fundy. Bay of Fundy is basically a kind of bay situated in the Canada, and it is known in the world because this bay has the highest tidal range in the world. Now, tidal range refers to the distance or the difference in the height of high tide and the low tide. And as you can see from this particular picture, as you can see, during the times of low tide around this Bay of Fundy, this entire region is very, very dry region. The entire rock, you can see the surface of the rocks are visible, surface of the entire ocean landmass is visible. And as you can see, as you move from picture 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, gradually as high tide comes, we can see this entire area is getting flooded, and then people are able to do water activities like kayaking and all these things to these areas. So such a huge tidal range, that means the tidal range actually is in the range of 12 to 15 meter. Water level rises by 12 to 15 meter between the high tide and low tide within a single day, and that makes Bay of Fundy very, very unique in its own sense. Then the next landform that is unique to the North America is what is collectively called as the Great Lake System, that is made up of 5 lakes situated on the border of US and Canada. We have Lake Superior in the west, then we have Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. Now, these Great Lakes region are very important because these are considered to have the highest volume of fresh water on the Earth's surface in the entire world. And it is believed that almost 70% of the surface fresh water that is found in the liquid form, obviously in the Earth, is actually present in the 5 lakes, these 5 lakes together, that is called as a Great Lakes region. And actually, when Lake Erie and Ontario, when the river flows from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario, you have the formation of very picturesque, beautiful, and again very, very famous waterfall that is called as Niagara Waterfall, situated on the border of US and Canada. So Niagara Waterfall is situated between Lake Erie to Lake Ontario when the river falls from Erie to Ontario. The next important landform is what we can call as the highest peak of entire North American continent, and that is Mount McKinley, also called as Mount Denali. Denali actually was the local name, and McKinley was a colonial name that was given to the explorer who first discovered this mountain for the first time. So Mount McKinley actually is situated in the Alaska, the 50th state of USA, and it is part of the Alaska Range, and it rises humongously to a height of 6,194 meters. So that is all about the major landforms and the unique landforms of the North American continent. I hope you understood about all the areas very well. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you very much.